Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here, covering the post RNC debacle, if you will. What happened? Oh, let me make sure I got the sound off on this. There's a ton of cursing on these. So Andy No, the guy to go to for this stuff, he's got all the videos on his Twitter feed. As you can see, this Antifa participant chasing down who is he going after? I don't even know this guy. I forget this guy. But they hounded this guy coming out of the RNC all the way to his hotel. And they couldn't get into the hotel. They had locked it up. So they walked down the ramp into a parking garage. And they, they like shouted obscenities after them. And it's just, you know, when the hippies used to protest, they had a purpose. They were there to stop the war. Okay? Yeah, there were weirdos and they did freaky things sometimes, but they had a purpose. And the purpose was to stop the war. These guys have no purpose. Their purpose is chaos. And they scream things and they don't even mean them. I mean, the idea that these guys are, supporting Black Lives and Black Lives Matter, they're not even doing that. They're not even doing that. Like, they were screaming, say her name, say her name. And I'll prove to you in a second why that's a bunch of BS. They don't really care about the woman who was shot in Kentucky. Here they are, when the media says there wasn't fighting. Here's fighting on the street right here. Sorry about that. They're fighting with the cops. They're fighting with the cops on the streets. And look at them. They take this stance, and it's like they try to get the cops. They try to egg them on, and then they back away, and then they run away, and then they charge, and they go back and forth with these guys. This is their thing, because the object of the game is to get the cops to attack them, and then get that on videotape, and then put it all over social media. Let's see. Let's turn this down. Here's more violence on the streets. This is they harassed this guy. I don't think he was coming from the RNC event, but they got a bullhorn in his face, and I don't know why they harassed him, but they really threatened him and pushed him and shoved him. I mean, it was terrible. All right, this I got to get into later. Let me find. Okay, so but then the big thing was Rand Paul and his wife were walking out of the RNC event, and I think they were with some other couple too, but I'm not sure. And they were escorted by the police, and the protesters, I don't know, they just surrounded them and got on them and followed them, and they attacked. They tried to push their way in. The protesters had to be pushed back. The officers used their bikes to push the protesters away. And you could see these guys. They're furious. Look how angry these guys are. They're just angry. They're just angry. They don't know what they're doing. And this is I don't know what this is. Probably one of the protesters crying about tear gas. Here are the medics. Like, oh yeah, they're very official. But as you can see, they're just hounding Rand Paul. And I guess it wasn't on this version. There's a moment where some of the protesters sort of lunge, and a cop pushes him back with the bike, and then they push him, and he stumbles back, nearly falls, and Rand Paul kind of like holds him back, holds him up, and says, "Oh, you okay?" or something like that, and then they continue. So it was just utter chaos in the streets, as you can see. And this is what the protesters were screaming. Say her name, say her name. And as Tim Pool rightly points out, Rand Paul is one of the most staunch advocates of police reform and prison reform and liberty in the Senate. And he's from Kentucky. And the weird thing is, they go after guys from Kentucky. They go after the senators. The senators pass federal law. They don't pass the law for Kentucky. That's your governor. So your governor's the guy to complain to, and the state legislature for state law. Now, despite that, Rand was working on a bill, I think, that Tim points out. It's something like Justice for Brianna Act or something like that. And he's practically, he's not a libertarian. He's a Republican, but he's very libertarian in his leanings. And because of that, he's very much against police brutality, just like I am. But you can't tell the protesters that. They don't care. They don't care. They don't make any kind of distinction like that. He essentially agrees with them on Breonna Taylor, and they're screaming, "Say her name! Say her name!" Like, okay, like, what if he says her name? Like, what does that mean? Like, what are you trying to do here by screaming at a senator and then lunging and trying to attack him? You're not doing anything. If anything, you're convincing him, oh man, maybe we do need all this surveillance and authoritarianism. But these idiots, they don't understand anything. All they understand is their own narcissism. All they understand is me, me, me. That's why they scream, because they want all the attention focused on them. And even when you try to focus some of it on them, there's 5 other people screaming too, and they want the attention too. They're like adult babies, really. They have no real agenda here other than to undermine the state and take over and, put in their own ridiculously failed policies that couldn't possibly work. They live in this delusion that, well, if we only had a socialist America, well, then, there'd be no police brutality, and then we'd have equity, and everybody would have the same amount of money, and wouldn't that be wonderful? No. They don't understand how, as much as Democrats don't understand economics, like communists in America, they don't understand the mere basic functions of economics. That's why all these, or most of these BLM Antifa protesters, or rioters, I should say, that's why they're mostly white. They're all college kids. They're all idiot college kids who have been scammed by their professors, who are also idiot college kids who just never grew up, into communism. Oh, communism would work. Yeah, because we have problems in America, obviously communism is the answer. Duh. And so this is the end result. This is peak, leftism. And the Democrats think they can embrace this and sort of get these people on board. They're not on board. They're not even registered to vote. These people are unraveling because that part of their Marxist ideology is postmodernism. And postmodernism breaks down everything, including voting. So at some point, they're just not going to vote. They're not going to go to work. They're going to have bizarro relationships where they just bang random people and do random things because they believe in nothing. There's nothing to believe in. Everything is pointless and stupid and oppressive. Therefore, none of it matters. So what do you expect? That's why the longer this goes on, it'll be more and more mentally deranged people, because that's the only kind of people who would continue to sign on for this crap. They're mentally deranged, literally mentally deranged. So, the woman with the ski mask just screamed at people. She just kept screaming. It made no sense. I don't think I got any more footage here. No, I think we saw that. Yeah, we saw that. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here. This is from BG on the Scene on Andy Knows Twitter. And here it is where they lunge at, this is Rand Paul. I give the guys some credit for going out into this very hostile crowd, and they were very hostile. But you could see these guys trying to push in, and they're testing, and they should be allowed to walk the streets of D.C. Why shouldn't they? And why should these people be allowed to push and shove people? Yeah, there he is. There he goes. See, there he goes. Yep. And that's an attack. People are saying, "Oh, well, he wasn't really attacked." No, that guy was ready to attack him, and these people are just furious. They're just again, they're ideologically possessed. And that's Portland. I mean, I got to read this one. Sarah Oren, 42, was arrested yet again this week at the violent Antifa Portland protest. She's charged with multiple criminal offenses, but was quickly released without bail again. So, yeah. I mean, it really is, in my view, the Joker come to life here. So, but you get what you effing deserve, as they said in the movie. And these protesters, or not even protesters, these Antifa BLM idiots, oh, they're getting what they deserve. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video.